Hi, I'm Carolyn Montgomery, Executive Director of the American Songbook Association and Cabaret Scenes magazine. We are so thrilled that you are going to watch this historical YouTube video this evening with more stars than I can count in the sky. And I hope when you do that you will think about making a donation to the American Songbook Association, which is bringing classic American musical legacies into underserved classrooms across America, as well as retirement communities and memory care units. We are very much hoping that you will donate at americansongbookassociation.org. Thanks so much and enjoy the show. Magazine's 4th annual gala, honoring Broadway legend Betty Buckley for lifetime achievement. Nominee and Broadway television and film actor Sharon Catherine Brown. And the incredible and multifaceted Seth Rudetsky.
No, it's fine. Listen, we're backstage. Like, Betty Buckley and Orfeh were like singing promises to each other. I was just like gonna say the shock and somebody was like, Rudetsky. I was like, what? And I just ran. Anyway, this is Sharon Catherine Brown. Sharon, please tell everybody. Where's my sister? Sharon, please tell everybody. Oh, hi, Dan, tell everybody.
Hi.
Tell everybody your obsession with Betty Buckley.
Oh my goodness. First of all, hi. There are so many full circle moments going on for me right now. It's like the Olympics logo, you know, those sort of like all at once. We have so many people here that I've known forever. But when I was on Broadway doing the role of the narrator in Joseph and the Technicolor. And scene. But we were such a short show. Oh, that's better. Yes, that's better. Act like you've been somewhere, it was such a short show. And my Uncle Warren was the doorman for the Winter Garden Theater for like over 30 years. And he was so well, thank you, I miss him so much. He was so well loved in the Schubert organization that when I would travel during doing different touring shows, there would always be somebody from the Schubert organization going, your Uncle Warren said to watch out for you. You know, sometimes it was Ernie Jacobs, sometimes it was Gerald Schoenfeld, like big deal, you know. And so he would knock on the glass door with his keys to let me know, come through this door, because they'd be running after my show. But I would second act Cats so that I could see Betty sing Memory. So it was so incredible. I mean, I did that a lot. She was great every single time, you know. And then my mom took me to see Edmund Drood, and I've never seen anything like Betty Buckley. And so a lot of times when people say, this is life-changing, when you are an artist and you're an actress and you see something that changes the way you perform, it is life-changing. She set the bar so high that you go, that's what it should be. That's what you have to perform at this level. And you know, so she really did change my life for real. And she's looking at me, and I just if you don't know what it's like to bungee jump without a cord, this is it, singing Betty Buckley song in front of Betty Buckley, because she's my friend. She's my friend, but she's Betty Buckley first, so she's I don't know why I'm frightened. I know my way around here. The cardboard trees, the painted scenes, the sound here. Yes, a world to rediscover. But I'm not in any hurry. And I need a moment. The whispered conversations in overcrowded hallways, the atmosphere as thrilling here as always. Feel the early morning madness, feel the magic in the making. Why everything's as if we never said goodbye. I've spent so many mornings just in overcrowded hallways. So much to say, not just today, but always.
Yeah, Betty wanted Sharon to go first. Okay, so if you're just like here randomly and you're like, wait, what? What did Betty? Okay, so Betty Buckley, I hear like she's the greatest Broadway star because I don't want to get like other people mad at me, but let me just say she's the greatest Broadway star. Like, she really is the greatest Broadway star because. First of all, just like genetically like stunning. So you keep the stunningness, but then the amazing acting, and then the unbelievable voice. But then I want to just deconstruct what makes her so great. So I'm going to give you 3 examples of the brilliance of Betty Buckley. First of all, the purity of the vowels. It's not touch May, it's touch me, as opposed to pop singers that are like, it drives me crazy because pop singers modify vowels because it's much easier to modify a vowel. But when someone modifies a vowel, meaning instead of saying ooh, they say ow, it's not real because in real life, someone has to go, oh my God, I love yow. But like seriously, so when someone modifies a vowel, it takes me out of the moment as an audience member. But it's really difficult to sing a pure vowel. But Betty Buckley's voice is so brilliant. She has pure vowels, but then on top of that, you have the unbelievable breath control. So I'm going to show you an incredible clip. This is her classic song from Cats, live, by the way, as opposed to in a studio where every single note is like remixed and auto-tune. Okay, it's completely live as opposed to pop singers. Completely live, one breath, pure vowels, and then on top of that, just by the way, the crazy belting. She brought Broadway belting to a new level, which I'll deconstruct in a minute. But just hear the belting, the purity of the vowels, and the unbelievable breath control. This is memory. Okay, hit it, please. Oh, watch it. Sorry. Here we go. One breath. No breath. Because Betty was thinking of certain songs to do, and I was like, you can't have anybody else do Over You. I said, no one has ever sung that amazing Over You. It's a song from Tender Mercies, which, by the way, the acting, have you seen that movie, the scene where she's in the bed? The acting is un-effing believable. But just spot how, again, belting the crazy high notes, but the breath control. She's sustaining a note, and then you're like, surely she's gonna breathe. She doesn't breathe, she goes to an E flat in one breath. And then at the end, I want you to hear that she goes from a belt to a mix to head voice on the same note, just for you to go like, oh, you can't do anything technically. So maybe spot the breath control, one breath to an E flat, and it is unbelievable. Okay, hit Over You, hit it, please.
I
so if you don't know, Broadway belting back in the day, the big like Ethel Merman high note was a B. It was like, what is it? Everything's gonna be rosy for you and for me. That was a high note. So when Betty came to Broadway, she was like, no, yes. Okay. So she went from a B, she made a D, a regular note to belt on Broadway in the 60s. Nobody was belting D's in the 60s. Literally nobody. Susan Johnson, who I'm obsessed with, her big note was a B flat. So Betty started the whole Broadway trend of belting high. You would not have a Wicked if you didn't have Betty Buckley. There was all kinds of her story. She was happy telling the story, but if you don't know, she came to New York City, she got here, she was 21 years old, got off the bus, they were like, you have an audition. She's like, what? Went to the audition, and they were like, you're cast in the lead of the Broadway show. She was like, huh? First day in New York. So she gets this lead in 1776, she's got amazing stories about it, they kept moving the key around, but the point is, this started the trend of Betty Buckley's brilliant pure vowels, which is going to heaven, close to me, all evals, and it's all on a D. It was a step and a half above where anyone else felt it. She was the first to do this kind of thing. So this is how she literally created that Broadway sound that now we are all used to. But she created it. Listen to this. She was 21 years old. Hit it. All pure vowels, by the way. Hold on, we're coming.
Hey everybody!
No, I don't know who that is. Betty's basement. Yes, here we go. Modulation. There's so much joy.
Loving bride, loving wife, loving life, for it was I, with my eyes,
Yeah.
what it will be.
Oh, it'll be high. That's a high too. Wow.
Seth Rudetsky, Our next performer is a Tony and Drama Desk Award nominated actor for Her Turn and Tony Winning Once, originating the role of Grace. She is Elizabeth Davis, accompanied by Ian Murray.
Betty's a Texas girl, and I'm a Texas girl. So when I first came to New York from Texas, I got a job selling boots and buckles and belts like you do. And one of my first clients was a guy named Leonard Hall, who happened to be married to a woman named Carol Hall, who happened to introduce me to a woman named Gretchen Cryer. And Gretchen Cryer said, well, I teach a class about creating your own work. I wrote this show called How to Get Your Act Together and Take It on the Road. And she said, maybe I can help you. And so 4 original works later, I've been able to write. I have a role that the only perfect person in the world to play was Betty Buckley. And she said yes. And our director is Tony winning John Doyle, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. So when Betty said to me, Elizabeth, I have a song. It's called Old Friend. It's from a show called Get My Act Together and I'm Taking It on the Road. I thought only Betty can put together that beginning and middle and end of those circles that we need. And I'm playing a little bit of the fiddle tonight, just a little bit. We call it fiddle because, you know. Because we fell in love when I was doing once. And so, Betty, this is for you. My old friend now and for the rest of the time. pain of getting through it. And he laughs and says, you'll do it again. And we sit in a bar and talk till 2 about life and love as old friends do. And we tell each other what we've been through. Our love is rare, life is strange. Nothing lasts, and people change. And I ask him if his life is ever lonely, and if he ever feels despair. And he says he's learned to love it, 'cause it's really all part of it, and it helps him feel the good times when they're there. And we sit in a bar and talk till 2 about life and love as old friends do. And we tell each other what we've been through. Our love is rare, life is strange. Nothing lasts, people change. And I wonder if I'll live with any lovers, or if I'll spend my life alone. And the bartender's dozing, it's getting time for closing, and we figure I have got my own. But we'll meet in the year we're 62, and we'll travel the world as old friends do. And we'll tell each other what we've been through. Our love is rare, life is strange. Nothing lasts, people change. Love is rare, life is strange. Nothing lasts, people change.
Our next speaker is the recipient of an Academy Award, a Tony Award, and 2 Primetime Emmy Awards, among many, many others. The American Songbook Association is honored to introduce Ellen Burstyn.
I hadn't seen Betty before I saw 77 Sunset Strip. Is that right? No. What's it called? Sunset Boulevard. What's 77 Sunset Strip? That was a television show. Wow. Worry about my brain sometimes. I was not over her. I just thought it was the most astonishing performance I've ever seen. Her singing and her acting. You know, and I think that one of the reasons why she is such a great singer, besides her singing voice, is her acting while she's singing. So I went backstage and introduced myself, and she welcomed me into her dressing room. And we had a little chat, and I told her how much I admired her and what a great performance I had just witnessed. And then I went home and I said to my son, listen, you've got to see this Sunset Boulevard. I'm going to get you tickets. So I went back with my son, and I saw it again. And I went backstage afterwards, and she said, oh, you came back. That's so nice. And I said, well, I really love it. I love the show. I love your performance. And then I left. And then some relatives came from Detroit. They said, we want to see a Broadway show up should we see? And I said, Sunset Boulevard, I'll take you. So I saw it the third time, and I went backstage. She said, you've seen it 3 times. I said, yeah, I really like it. And then I'm not sure I have an excuse for the 4th time. But I saw it 4 times. And when I went backstage, she said, that's 4 times. Okay, we're going to be friends. So we became friends. Yeah. And one of the great moments of my life on my 65th birthday, I had a party and I said, everybody, don't bring any presents, but if you want to bring a poem or a song or a story or to tell, do that. So Betty arrived with a small band. She sang memory in my living room. And I tell you, when she did that touch me, I felt my hair stand on end, and I worried a little bit for the roof. Because I felt like the whole house lifted. It was one of the most glorious moments I ever had observing somebody else's performance. There's nobody like her. That's all. There's just nobody like her. I saw her in one of those 4 times, one of those 4 performances. She started singing a song, and she held a note. And after a while, some people in the audience started applauding, and she kept holding it. And some other people joined in. And then pretty soon, she was still holding that note, and the audience stood up, and she got a standing ovation for one note. I never saw anything like that before in my life. So she's just the greatest. She is the greatest. Recently, I wanted so much to hear her sing Memories. So I looked for it on YouTube, because sometimes you can find her on YouTube. And there was a performance of Memories on the Johnny Carson show. So that was very early on. I had never seen her at that stage in her career. I saw her much later. She was a phenomenon. She had this way. I had the feeling that she was loving the words as they came out of her mouth. Like she was making love to the song that she was singing. And I thought, that's Okay. I'm so glad she's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. She deserves it.
Tony and Grammy Award-winning nominee, most recently seen on Broadway in her role as Kit DeLuca in Pretty Women, or Faye with Saturday.
I'm insisting that our Faye use the lyrics for this. So this is from Promises, Promises, and again, I'm telling all Betty's stories, but basically Betty was doing 76, and she auditioned for Promises, Promises, and she sang this song, and she clanked, because it's like really, really hard rhythm, there are a million lyrics, and they were like, not interested. And then basically she ran into the stage manager, Charlie Blackwell, and she was like, please coach me, I've got to play this role. And her agent got her a call back, even though they were like, you stink. And then she took a call back, and she was amazing, and she got it, and she premiered Promises, Promises in London. It's an amazing score by Burt Bacharach and Hal David, but anyway, Orpheus just learned it, and I was like, I don't want you to have the Betty Buckley audition experience, so you've got to look at this, because it's too nerve-wracking. Okay, so, thank you. Or, by the way,
We're gonna do our best.
what was it like when you were backstage and you were literally practicing it in Betty Buckley's face with her singing right?
She sang it with me. She's like, here's how it goes. And we sang the entire thing with Bonnie Mulligan standing in the middle of us going, this is so great for me. And so Benny and I just did the whole thing, and Benny's got all the lyrics now, and I'm going, you know, Darlene Love always said, you know, they won't know if you don't get the words right as long as you get the beginning and the end. For you to run away! There you go. You got it.
Good luck.
Go while the going is good. Knowing when to leave may be the smartest thing that anyone can learn. Go. I'm afraid my heart isn't very smart. Fly while you still have your wings. Knowing when to leave will never let you reach the point of no return. Fly, foolish as it seems, I still have my dreams. So I keep hoping day after day as I wait for the man I meet, night after night, and I wish for a love that can be. No, I'm sure that no one can tell when their wishes and
acclaimed Broadway director and current artistic director of the Bay Street Theater in Sag Harbor, New York, Scott Schwartz.
Thank you. I am so pleased to be here tonight to get to say a few words about someone I admire deeply and someone who I love. I think I first met Betty around 2008, but genetically speaking, I guess I've known her since I was in the womb, or maybe even earlier. My parents have known Betty since the original 1776 in the Pippin, so I've really known her since, well, I guess since before I existed. But in a way, doesn't it feel like Betty's light has always been there, shining for all of us? She is a timeless star, and to be that, it's not just about her extraordinary talent, nor her radiance, depth, pathos, and sensitivity. It's not even just about her unparalleled voice. To be a timeless star, it's about passion for art, for storytelling, for acting. It's about persistence, and it's about perseverance. In this complicated world that we live in, and this industry we all love, Betty has taught me that perseverance is one of the most important things you can have. So let me tell you the story of how I know Betty. It was about 15 years ago, and I get an email. It said, "Hi, I'm Betty Buckley. I'd like to meet you. Can we get together?" And my brain exploded. Sure, I had a family history, but I had never met Betty as an adult, as a professional, and she was, Betty Buckley. So after putting my brain back together, I wrote back, "Sure." And I went to have lunch with her at a lovely cafe off Bryant Park, and she said, "I like your work. I think we could create something really special together. Do you want to do something with me?" And we were off. It took a little while, but eventually we found a project, and not a musical even. We decided to do a fresh take on Arsenic and Old Lace at the Dallas Theater Center. Yes. Where near where Betty has her ranch, and we asked Tova Feldshuh to join us. And Betty did say to me, "I don't want to play an old lady. I want to play the woman that Martha Brewster is," and she did. Her Martha had depth, truth, and yes, a lot of humor. Her Martha liked to wear pants and was always sneaking outside the old house to smoke cigarettes. Betty and Tova reinvented the play to great acclaim, and I'm happy to say we did get to close Act One with Betty belting out a hymn. I've gone on to work with Betty more at Bay Street, where I'm the artistic director. She's done sellout concerts for us and co-starred in Grey Gardens with Rachel York. Directed by the incomparable Michael Wilson. This production went on to become the most successful musical in Bay Street's history to date at that time. But here's the thing. These shows, and so much of what Betty has done in her career, is because of her perseverance. She finds work she wants to do that lights her up, that fascinates her, and then she throws herself into it. She doesn't just sit on her laurels, relax on her ranch with her menagerie of animals, or wait around for others to give her jobs and tell her what to do next. She makes her own road, or maybe we'll say her own horse trail across the prairie, following the star that is her artistry. So thank you, Betty, not only for being an extraordinary artist, but for teaching me an essential truth about how to be an artist. We must persevere. And now, it is my great pleasure to help continue sharing the family love for Betty by introducing Stephen Schwartz.
So obviously I'm delighted to be here tonight in honor of Betty. Many people credit a television commercial, the famous television commercial, for extending the run of Pippin on Broadway. But I have always also credited Betty Buckley, because once she took over the role of Catherine, that portion of the show went from being the part that didn't really work to everybody's favorite. And of course that was because of Betty's energy and humor, and of course her amazing voice. So now, two friends of Betty's are going to sing the duet from Pippin that she sang. Please welcome friends and mine, Kurt Peterson and Leanne Cox.
a very wise woman. And we were doing a play called Old Friends together. And I was in the wig room with Betty and others. And I was falling apart and acting like an idiot. And going on about something that didn't really matter. And having issues, which I used to have. And Betty, in her great wisdom, just came over and sat on me. Face to face. She just straddled me and sat down and was like, look, I'm going to give you this piece of advice. It was many years of therapy and thousands of dollars. Stop it.
I met a king in an ivory castle or something. I can't go back there anymore. I know my keys don't fit the door. You can help me out with the title later. But I was stunned. I had never seen the focus, the excitement, and the voice, and the acting that took place on that stage. That was in the late 60s. Then, around the same time, my co-star in the revival of the West Side Story, Victoria Mallory, began performances of Little Night Music. And both Vicki and I had worked with this wonderful teacher named Paul Gabbard for many years. We met him at Hamlet in 1966. And Betty went to the performance of Night Music and heard Victoria sing. And she ran backstage afterwards and says, "Who is your voice teacher?" Well, it was Paul. And Paul and Betty, from the late 60s, well, actually from the early 70s, because Night Music was 73, through, for 18 years, they had this most wonderful, wonderful relationship where Paul coached Betty, and we lost him in 1992, and it's such a great loss. But I know if Paul were here tonight, he would be so, so very proud. Let me tell you one other thing. Paul and I think we're among very few people in the world who saw all three performances of Carrie. I didn't know Betty had a lot of fans, but I was sitting backstage waiting to see her one night, and all of a sudden this giant man walked in front of me. It was Muhammad Ali. I didn't know he was a musical theater guy. Anyway, in Carrie, Betty had this wonderful song. I always called Carrie it's the best of times and the worst of times, because there was some of the most exciting singing I've ever heard, ever in my life, by both Betty and Lindsay Haitley, the young girl who played the daughter. And the worst of times, of course, was the Pig Ballet. Any of you who've seen the Pig Ballet, blood spurting out of the orchestra pit will remember it. Betty had a wonderful, wonderful dramatic ballad in the show. And there was, Betty sang a lot of high notes, as you know. But there was one very, very high note at the end, and she was having trouble with Paul. And Paul came up to Betty and said, Betty, that's not a high note. Oh? No. That note comes from down there. So when you hit that note on stage, this is what I want you to do. You take a big breath, and you look down, the orchestra, you take your hand, make a fist, and go like this. So when you see the recording of Betty singing the end of that wonderful dramatic ballad, you're going to see her arm going right like this. And that note was always there. Betty, Paul loves you, I love you, and I know a lot of other people here love you.
And now, the Executive Director of the American Songbook Association, Carolyn Montgomery.
stage at a show like this is the equivalent of seeing the accountants from PricewaterhouseCoopers. The awards and everybody gets up to get a snack or go beer or whatever they want to do. And I promise you that I will be brief. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for purchasing the ticket that makes it possible for kids who cannot get access to music any other way in schools they can't afford music programs. You're making that possible. You're also making it possible for people in retirement communities with no budget for entertainment, particularly in memory care units where we make the most difference. You're helping us preserve and promote and protect the songbook where it's most needed. And do you remember, I mean, I would guess that everybody here remembers when they participated in some kind of elementary or middle or high school production, right? It changes your life. It changes neural pathways. We're not talking about creating brilliant little musicians. We're talking about giving people access, finding out what kind of person they can be. So thank you. Thanks for purchasing that. Program in Chicago in March. Our Chicago liaison is here and we continue to do that. And also we are working in memory care units in Chicago and we are launching in LA in 2024. So let's get every state in the union. And most importantly, I want to thank Seth Rudetsky and Betty Buckley for giving us all new ways to dream. Sunset Boulevard. And you might remember him as Salvatore Romano on television's hit series Mad Men, Brian Batt, along with Broadway diva and master impressionist Christine Petty.
I will be brief. I had the pleasure of meeting Betty Buckley many years ago while I was doing Sunset Boulevard. I had the good fortune to be cast in the original company of Sunset Boulevard as I was in the ensemble, but I was the first understudy to Joe Gillis. And for some reason, I never got to go on for the first 6 months of the show until Betty joined the company. But ironically, I was on vacation for Betty's first week. So in the middle of my vacation, I got a call, "You're on. Get back up here, be at the theater at 12. Dance captain, the late Darlene Wilson lover, talked me through all of Betty's changes, and as well there should be some because it's now her show. They said, Betty will be there at 4 to run everything with you. At the strike of 4, Betty Buckley walked right up to me with a huge bouquet of flowers and said, "You are going to be magnificent." And we have been friends ever since. I adore you, Betty. Sure, I came out here just over the glen, acting so cool, looking for fame. I lost my Tony though, unluckily. But after a year, the show is hell. Hydraulics made a rancid smell. No one is better than the Buckley. Sunset Boulevard, Big Set Boulevard, ticket buying tourist, be wary. Sunset Boulevard, miscanned boulevard, lucrative and dark, a little scary. Sunset Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard. Excuse me, I'm working here. Sunset Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard. Stop. Excuse me, but who are you?
I'm Ethel Merman, First Lady of the American Musical Theater. Oh, what's that ugly growth on your forehead?
Oh, it's my new state-of-the-art wireless microphone.
Oh, I know what that is. That's new Andrew Lloyd Webber disease I heard so much about.
Times have changed, Miss Merman. This is how we sing nowadays. I keep singing. singing though my voice is air. I keep going though there's nothing there. There's a big black lump inside my hair. You wonder why? I'll tell you why. Walking through the show each night, but in spite of that you'll hear alright. Stars like me seem ever tireless thanks to my wireless head microphone.
In my day, we didn't need microphones. We had voices then. You don't need amplifier. Be loud as a lion. You don't need much higher ground. Take that thing off your forehead. Now it looks like a new warhead, and you sound sheepish as a lamb. If today I got hired, I would sweat when I'm wired. For some electronic scene. Come on, kid, and get some class. Take that mic out of your ass and admit you just can't sing. Stick with me, kid. I'll have you sounding like Jolson in no time.
Singing though my voice is
Loud
air.
as a lion. Be like me. You're
Going
just
though
a
there's There's a big lump inside my hair. You wonder why? I'll tell you why. The show each night. In spite of that, you'll feel alright. Stars like me seem never tired. Thanks to my wireless head microphone.
Come on, kid, it isn't hard. Wobble down that boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard. That's the Merman way to sing.
I'm here to tell you about a couple of swell fellas. All right. The Bill Sensenbrenner Dreammaker Award was named to celebrate the enormous contribution of ASA board member Bill Sensenbrenner, who was passionate about the mission of the ASA and was the engine behind its education program. God bless. Bill served as a primary fundraiser on the board of the ASA, raising more money from independent sources for the organization in a year than any other board member. Bill held a master's degree in theater management from Southern Methodist University and was a lifelong avid theater goer and theater lover. His career included theater management as well as office management for an executive accounting firm. Gone too soon, Bill was a rainmaker, supporter, friend of the arts, and cheerful human being. He is missed every day. Now, this award in his honor is presented to, oh, this is a loud microphone. I'm a loud talker, so that's a loud combination. This award is presented to a leader in the arts and business communities who exhibits a passion, and dare I say an obsession, for investing in the cultural capital of our youth. Seth Rudetsky, otherwise known as my dueling diva, has used his talents as a, I think I'm just going to do something with this because what the hell I'm here, as a music director, as a pianist. It's truly terrific arrangement. as a conductor. As a producer. As a writer. And I'm gonna throw in music archivist, because what the hell? And educated to enrich the lives of theatergoers. Wait a minute, unbelievable. Can we talk? All right. His radio program on Sirius XM, Set Speaks, offers insights into the working of Broadway and the artists that keep its traditions alive. His live shows, featuring most of the people that are here tonight across the country, Broadway stars discussing their experiences on stage, bring these artists up close to their audience. Most importantly, his work on behalf of children, your kids, our kids, founded by Seth and his husband, James Wesley, raises funds for 5 nonprofits. His annual Voices for the Voiceless, which he just did a week or 2 ago, those concerts raise funds. It's such a beautiful charity to help older foster children find families. The American Songbook Association is proud to present the 2023 Bill Sensenbrenner Dream Maker Award to the amazing, to the obsessed, Seth Rudetsky.
So to celebrate my award, I'm going to do some quick deconstructing. By the way, just to give the background how I met Betty, just FYI, been obsessed with her, since I was a kid, crazy obsessed with her. I was doing a reading of A New Brain by Bill Finn, and Alan Campbell was in it, speaking of Spencer Boulevard. And I was just like, what's Betty like backstage? Betty this, Betty that, Betty this, Betty that. And he was like, okay. And then I saw Betty's concert at Carnegie Hall, which was unbelievable. Oh my God, it was good. And then Alan said, by the way, Betty needs a pianist for her voice lessons. Would you be available? And I was like, anyway, so I became Betty's pianist for her voice lessons. She would pick me up in the Sunset Boulevard car. It was very Joe Gillis, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, waiting on getting in the car, and I would play her voice lessons. Anyway, it was the most amazing experience ever, and we've become friends ever since then. And she was just amazing. I remember one time I was writing lyrics for the Rosie O'Donnell show, and my producer called, and I was like, are you gonna cut it? I was like, is my writing terrible? And then he was like, don't ever say that about your writing. You might. I mean, it was just a great lesson from a Ron Diva. So thank you, Betty Buckley, I love you. So let me just do some quick deconstructions. My sister Nancy's here. She was with me. The first Broadway show I ever saw was Hair, back in the 70s. I know, inappropriate, and yet so appropriate. So I'm gonna play a little clip from the movie that I'm obsessed with. So let's just watch this. This is from the movie Hair. I love the show so much. Take a gander, please, if you will. Hit it whenever you can. Exactly. Now, those that are cheering know the inside scoop. That is not that amazing young lady singing. That is Betty Buckley singing. And for years, I have loved that song. And I was always like, whoever that young girl is, it's so unfair. She never sang anything ever again. It was Betty. Who was uncredited. Still furious, and so am I. Uncredited. You need to watch it. You can tell it's Betty when you hear the Texas accent. She goes, my body is walking in space. Ma soul. So just spot that. It's ma soul. Obsessed. The phrasing is so beautiful, and there's just this girl that girl is like 15, and Betty sounds like she's 15. It's the most beautiful. Let's watch it again. And now that you know it's Betty, just imagine her full Isabella makeup in the recording studio. Okay, here it is.
Is walking in space. My soul is in orbit with God, face to face, floating, flipping, flying, tripping,
I never watched children's movies because I had older brother and older sisters, only like scary things, so I was obsessed with the movie Carrie. So I wanted to show you this one scene from Carrie that I love so much. We'll watch it twice in a row. Let's first watch it. I love it so much. Hit it, please. So there's this SpaceX walking on. Okay, so that little boy, turns out, was not up to snuff. And that voiceover was Betty Lynn Buckley. So let's watch it again. Because I don't know why I think the kid was like, creepy Carrie, creepy, like, it sounded like a late stretch. So they got Betty going on. She's up there acting, creepy Carrie, creepy Carrie. She goes in high F, and then just spot how she does all of her amazing Stanislavski acting at the end with this thing, oh. So just fine. So it's incredible belting and then a high F. I'm obsessed. This is Betty's voiceover. Okay, hit it please one more time. Still not. Okay, so Madeline Buckley. She's a good teacher. I'm really good. Okay, let's see Cindy Meyer. Cindy, that ad in the program is so beautiful with my old Chatterbox photos. Cindy runs on to Mama. Thank you for that, Cindy. So lovely. Okay, so now I'm going to show you. I was not one of the people that got to go see Carrie, unfortunately. I was freaking out. I could not wait to go see it. I had tickets, but I was still at Oberlin. I was still at college. And by the time I graduated, that weekend was over. So I was curious. I did not get to see it. Tell me if you don't know the story. We did a whole Stars in the House. You go to starshouse.com with Carrie. And basically, they were going to keep the show running. And between a matinee and a night show, they were having a publicity meeting. Like, how can we keep this amazing show running with these great performances? And the producer literally flew back to Germany and was like, oh, by the way, the show's closing. So everyone wanted to keep it running, but there was a producer, old school, and he closed it. It should not have closed. You're not going to believe how brilliant the performance is. I'm going to show you just a moment of it. If you don't know, she played the mom in Carrie, and she's completely abusing her daughter, and yet belting phenomenally. So I want you to see this scene. And it's about the people, if you don't know, Michael Gore and Dean Pitchford, who wrote Fame, that all the amazing music in the movie Fame. And by the way, Dean Pitchford was in Pippin, and was in Pippin when Betty was doing it as well as Michael Rupert. Anyway, so in this scene, I want you to just spot how phenomenal Betty sounds, the unbelievable acting, and just a little inside scoop that she's told me. She's throwing Lindsay Haley, Carrie, down this, like a cellar, like into this dark closet. But Lindsay was holding on, but it was nerve-wracking that she could fall. So there were like 3 crewmen holding her up. So as Betty was like, God will not forsake you, there was just like 3 IATSE members like, holding Lindsay's legs, just looking at her like, yeah. So anyway, they're probably like, actually she was belting at them, so they were probably like, hair straight back. Like, what's happening? The force of belting. Anyway, so let's watch it. This is, and by the way, if you don't know how this was filmed, Scott Wise, the final performance, literally got his camcorder, which was like 80 pounds back in the day, walked to the balcony and masking taped it to the very back of the balcony. And then he had to go backstage for a half hour. So sadly, the battery ran out by the time Act 2 began. But he taped Act 1 on his camcorder, and this is the clip. The acting and the singing, your head's gonna come off in the brilliance. Hit it.
God made him from out his rib, and he was weak,
Nominated 4 times for an Academy Award for Best Actress, winner of 2 Golden Globe Awards, a shining star of the Broadway stage and major motion pictures, Marsha Mason.
First of all, I'm here to publicly thank Betty and also to publicly apologize. Now, let me explain. First of all, thank you, Betty, for asking me to be a very small part of this rather extraordinary celebration of a stellar, giant talent in Miss Betty Buckley. She has set the standard so high, and when I think back, and my first time of hearing her sing Memories, I still burst into tears. But the thank you is also because Betty started my second career as a theater director. Many years ago, Second Stage and Betty trusted me with a first-time professional directing of a new play. And I have to now publicly apologize and promise her, because there came a certain moment in the rehearsal when finally I just blurted out, "Just do it." And she was so startled and went, "Oh, okay." And I now promise her that I never said that to another actor as a director again. So I make this heartfelt promise to you, Betty. I became a much better and more patient director because of Betty Buckley.
Our next duo is so exciting. She's a Tony, Lucille Lortel, 4-time Drama Desk and 3-time Drama League nominee for her brilliant work on Broadway. And he is best known for his record-setting performance of The Phantom and Phantom of the Opera, among many leading roles on the Broadway stage. Accompanied by Seth Rudetsky, she is Jennifer Simard, and he is Howard McGillen.
These two are going to do something from a show that Howard originally started. So I guess, Howard, first I just want to ask you, what is it like to be literally next to Betty Buckley when she is singing? I mean, did your wig fall off? Go.
My wig fell off. No, it's like standing next to a 747 when it's about to take off. It was actually a visceral experience every night. Just absolutely thrilling.
You starred as Jasper, John Jasper and Drew. And Jennifer Simard, you and I grew up listening to Love Buckley, and then Jennifer started the show that I wrote my friend Jack on Broadway, Disaster, and Betty Buckley came to see it, and Betty Buckley became a fan. What does it feel like that Betty, first of all, knows who you are? Go.
Yeah, she was the first celebrity to put her stamp on me publicly, which was really something. And when I was 19 years old, living in New Hampshire, doing Broadway reviews with my friends, I did this song, and I can't believe I get to do it with Howard for you tonight.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
That's what, because I said to Jen, when you sing it, Jen's like, I know it so well. I don't know you knew it so well because you literally did it in a non-equity dinner theater. Blah, blah.
Yes.
Okay. I have to actually find it. Howard, just give them a little bit of the story, because she's playing a man, just see what the hell it means.
Yeah, so Betty was playing the man in the show, Edwin Drew, and as was the tradition back then in the 19th century in English music hall, where the men would play women and women would play men.
Yeah, the Belters played the men basically. And this is one of those classic Betty Buckley songs where it's all these ooh vowels, and they have to be, you can't modify the ooh. This is
Let's do my darndest.
You ready, Jenny?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Here we go, 2, 3, 4.
My dearest Uncle Jack, my dearest nephew Ned, a life without your friendship would be like as good as dead. The winds of hell may blow, as you well may know, I heed your call, no need to swallow and face the fire below. For you, for you, for you, for you, two kinsmen more than brothers, we know the next of kin, and yet we know no others closer near the skin. The blood that flows between us, the bond that ties us twain, two kinsmen little lovers flee that we remain. My dearest nephew Ned, my dearest Uncle Jack, if fancy was against you, I could take them back. I know you're not mine, would be glad to die, and by my death one extra breath of life for you I buy. 'Tis true, 'tis true, for you, yes, two kinsmen more than brothers, we know no next of kin, and yet we know no others closer than the skin. The blood that flows between us, the bonds that tie us twain, two kinsmen when all others flee, then we remain. 'Tis true, for you, two kinsmen now we do.
Our next esteemed guest speaker is the first person to singly win a Tony for Best Book, Music, and Lyrics. The creator of Edwin Drood, among so many brilliant productions, is Rupert Holmes.
Following Howard, Jennifer gives me the same warm feeling I got when I heard Merv Griffin say, well, we'd love to talk more with Orson Welles, but now that's Rupert Holmes. And I feel terrible keeping you away from my dear friends and beloved Kelly Carmelo and Jesse Mueller, along with me for 3 minutes, to be able to talk about, to sing the praises of Betty Buckley for 3 minutes. The only way I can do that is to work with notes and limit myself because I go on all day. And I just said, by the way, I want to say that there's no way we can ever thank you and James enough for Stars in the House. The first time I heard Betty Buckley sing in person was actually in the mid-70s. An actor named Dean Pitchford, who no one knew could write songs, was at the time a friend of a friend of mine, and this friend told me that Dean, who was a standby, was going to go on in the title role of Pippin that evening. He was the cover. And could I rush to the Imperial Theater to hear him sing? At the time, I had just finished writing, arranging, and conducting an album for Barbra Streisand called Lazy Afternoon. So I was pretty jaded when it came to being impressed by any vocals. I went to the Imperial Theater, Dean was superb, and then Pippin and Catherine sang the song you heard, Love Song. And I heard for the first time the miracle that is Betty Buckley. She dazzled my ears, if there can be such a phenomenon. Her every inflection and lilt, the warmth and vulnerability she could reveal in that breathtakingly supple voice was like spring pulling life from the snow-covered ground of winter. 10 years later, I would again be seated in the Imperial Theater. But this time, a miracle upon miracle. Betty was taking my words and music into her gorgeous craft. She originated the title role of The Mystery of Edwin Drood. Actually, 3 roles for being a play within a play. She portrayed London's leading male impersonator, Miss Alice Nutting, who in turn is portraying Ernest Young Edwin Drood, who in fact in Act 2 disguises himself as a bearded seafarer named Dick Datchley. And here's the thing, it was a musical comedy. We were continually breaking the fourth wall. And she could easily have milked the farce of it and bugged and winked at the audience, but she didn't. When Betty was Edwin Drood, she became that hopeful, trusting young man in the same way she brings all the characters she portrays into her heart and fearlessly shows us everything we need to know about them. In the time between our breakout success at the Delacorte Theater in Central Park that summer and our move to the Imperial Theater on Broadway, Betty invited me to lunch and spoke of her need for a moment or two where Edwin might express some things she had learned, that Betty had learned, about his character. I went home that evening and wrote several musical soliloquies for Edwin, or rather, for Betty. And although certain songs over the years have gotten cut or replaced in London or its national tour or for the roundabout revival, I've always retained those moments that Betty requested because I feel they remain crucial to the soul of the musical. It was also my honor to write a new role and songs specifically for Betty when she guest starred in the hour-long Christmas special of my AMC period dramedy, Remember When. And of its 56 episodes, Betty's episode seems to be the one that our audience remembers with the greatest affection. Betty Lynn, I could read the writing on the wall, my 3 minutes are up, or I'd go out all evening. You've blessed my life and work, you forever inhabit several of my proudest creations, and you give this lucky world with your heart, your spirit, and your soul. Thank you always and never.
We're going to bring on 2 people to recreate one of the duets from The Mystery of Edwin Drood. Please welcome to the stage, speaking of Remember When, the wonderful Carolee Carmello. We're learning this duet just for this night's show, and if you don't know, Carolee's playing Edwin Drood, who's a man. And basically since birth, Edwin's been betrothed to Rosebud. And they're like, we're always supposed to get married. And since we know we're supposed to get married, like, there's kind of like no romance. Maybe we didn't know each other, we would have fallen in love, but now we're just sort of like brother, sister, clank. So they're singing a song called Perfect Strangers, and just a shout out to Rupert. By the way, his music's so hard to play, my head is coming up. It's so, I can't tell how hard it is. But it's such a stunning, such a unique, stunning ending. I've never heard on a Broadway show, but they just end the song on an ah. It's so crazily gorgeous. So just listen to the uniqueness and listen how great they sound together. And someone please revive it for these 2 clowns. Are you ready, Jessica? You ready, Carolee? Okay. See what happens. Here we go.
Too much
sends his best love to Betty Buckley, but was unable to appear this evening due to the extension of the run of his show on the West Coast. His presence is felt in this next song, sung by an actor who's performed in pretty much everything the wonderful Joe Iconis has written and produced. Please welcome Katrina Rose, accompanied by Christian Jacob.
looks at me, and I at him. He's confused, and I am too. I say out loud, well, you're not Jim. He said, who's Jim? I try to leave. He grabs me roughly by the arm. I shoot him in the shoulder. In self-defense, I mean no harm. Now my ears are ringing loud as I run swiftly from the house. You can't trust Google for addresses. Look, a blood stain on my blouse. I hear Oprah in my head as I look down at my shirt. When you can't let go of the past, that's when the innocent get hurt. There's a lesson to be learned here. What it is, I just can't see. I'm not living in the past. It's the past that lives in me. Old flame, look at what you made me do. I guess I always knew. Old flame, you'll never let me mend. You'll burn me in the end. Old flame, how I struggle, how I fight, but I can't ignore your light. I cannot ignore your light. Old flame, you're out there burning bright, but I can't ignore your light. I cannot ignore your Why should I have any doubt? Hard as I try, I will never blow you out. I will always be the same. Old
Tony Award-nominated star of the Broadway stage in multiple productions, including Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead and 1776. We welcome Paul Hackett.
The year is 1969. The scene is a rehearsal studio on West 19th Street. A group of cynical Broadway veterans are on a break in the hall, watching the Jets play the Baltimore Colts on a little black and white portable TV. It's the third quarter. The score 13-0 for the Jets. From the rehearsal room, we hear this amazing voice singing a song about someone playing a violin. Yes. Turns out the singer is a very attractive young woman who just got off the plane or the bus from Dallas, Texas. And she is to be the newest member of our cast playing the part of Martha Jefferson. Yes, folks, the show was 1776. And the aforementioned Broadway veterans weren't here taking the show too terribly seriously. I mean, a musical about the Declaration of Independence. Come on, who knew? Who knew that one of these days we would be playing it for movie, even though some of us weren't in it. As I came to know Betty a little better during rehearsals, I noticed that she seemed understandably unsure of herself, maybe even a little bit shy in the company of these grizzled Broadway veterans. So I thought a little comfort was in order, and I went to my 3-year-old daughter's bookshelf and picked out a book that I used to read to comfort her and entertain her. There were stories of A.A. Milne, which I read to Betty on our breaks. Seemed to work. James Morrison, Weatherby George Dupree, great care of his mother when he was only 3. James said to his mother, he said he, you must never go down to the end of the town if you don't go down with me. James Morrison's mother put on a golden gown. James Morrison's mother drove to the end of the town. James Morrison's mother said to herself, said she, I can get right down to the end of town and be back in time for tea. King John put up a notice, lost or stolen or strayed. James Morrison's mother seems to have been mislaid. Last seen wandering vaguely, quite her own accord, she tried to get down to the end of the town, 40 shillings. James Morrison, commonly known as Jim, told his other relations not to go blaming him. James said to his mother, he said he, you must never go down to the end of the town without consulting me. James Morrison's mother hasn't been heard of since. King John said he was sorry, so did the Queen and the Prince. King John, somebody told me, said to a man he knew, if people go down to the end of the town, what can anyone do? M.M. W.G. Dupree took great C.O. his M, though he was only 3. J.J. said to his M, and he said he, you must never go down to the end of the town if you don't go down with me.
This is some Bonnie action, Bonnie, you there. I'm welcoming to the stage someone who has a Tony Award. She's brilliantly talented, Bonnie Milligan. Tony Award. So Bonnie, I feel a la Jennifer Smart. You were head over heels, and I remember Betty came to see you. How did it feel when Betty was like, Bonnie's really talented? And I wanted to say a side note. Unlike, a lot of people are competitive, Bonnie sees amazing female talent and lifts her up. So what did it feel like when Betty was tweeting about you?
I mean, I'm obsessed with Betty Buckley. I think we all are here. And the voice, there's just nobody like her, on top of the brilliant acting. So to get sort of a seal of approval from someone that I have looked up to for so many years, I sobbed. I said, can I get a photo with you? I think I actually said the words, I'm so sorry, this is a lot for me right now. Can I get a photo with you though? And she was like, sure. And then she said, now where's my camera? I want one. And I was like, yeah.
And the seal of approval led to Yale, Tony Award, and Kimberly. So we're going to do a song that Bonnie learned for this. This is from a musical called Triumph of Love. Triumph for Betty. Betty, of course, got Tony nominated. As per usual, she played Hesione, this very stoic scholar who was given up love, but then she falls in love with this young man played by a woman. There's a lot of cross-dressing in your show. Falls in love with Susan Egan, and her stoicness is thrown for a loop, and she sings this incredible song. Fine, we're gonna try it.
Yeah. Here it goes. This is for you, Betty. The summer that I turned 17, my heart was an open door. It welcomed all comers sight unseen and trusted the smiles they wore. They came in a whirl of wanton words, those reckless and false young men. They tore at my heart like hungry birds and never came back again. Serenity, I never knew any then. I longed for a place where reason rules and appetites are denied, where blood that is heated quickly cools away from the world outside. Serenity, a haven where I could hide. I found it at last amid the manuscripts here, so thankfully tranquil. Time turned to past, my safe, sweet harbor of harmony, so enchanting, And now, without warning, you appear, so passionate, young, and fair, assaulting the thing I hold most dear with a toss of your sunlit hair. Your hint of a smile, your almost arrogant praise, so carelessly carried, cannot beguile the cruel, untenable tyranny of battles so artless.
Hello, Betty. It's Andrew from London. I'm sending you my very, very warmest congratulations and best wishes for this, in my view, overdue Lifetime Achievement Award, because you are one of Broadway's all-time legends and greats. It was fantastic working with you on Cats, of course, where you were a legendary Tony Award-winning Grisabella. I mean, the best ever version of Memory, really. Fantastic it was. And great joy to, of course, work with you all those years later on Sunset Boulevard. So have a great, great evening. All my very best wishes and love, and congratulations once again.
Drama Desk and Outer Critics Circle Award-winning director, Michael Wilson.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so humbled and honored to be with you this evening. I've had much humbler beginnings with Betty. Maybe some of you share this. 13 years old, Wednesday nights, 8 is enough, 8 o'clock. I love it that Betty was the lead into Charlie's Angels. And you know, they were in the top 12 all those years. 8 is enough. It was a great latter-day Brady Bunch. But it was years later at the Alley Theater when the Alley was honoring Horton Foote that I would actually meet Betty in person. I'm really fortunate that I got to meet her in Texas because I had kind of one of those clarifying of conscious moments seeing Betty after she had sung Amazing Grace to honor Horton. And she was out on the terrace there at the Alley Theater. They got these terraces on the side of the theater. And she was there standing so gorgeous and statuesque against the Texas sky. And I suddenly could kind of see her against this Texas landscape that has shaped so many artists. Horton, Robert Wilson, James Turrell, James Searles, Rauschenberg. And I started thinking, the frontier. Does anybody remember, I don't know, any history geeks out here? I used to love history before I fell into the theater rabbit hole. But Frederick Jackson Turner had this thesis. It was about American exceptionalism, the significance of the frontier in American history. And I started thinking about the significance of the frontier of Betty Buckley and the significance of Betty Buckley in our American theater and in our American character and in our American identity. Because it was Mr. Turner's thesis that it's the continually open frontier, this vast land of possibility, and us moving forward, that space to move in, places to go, see, and of course, this sky over above that's just imploring us to look always upward and to reach. That is the spirit and success of the U.S., this westward expansion. And I think that's what I associate with Betty. We've been fortunate to have done projects through the years, musicals, plays, Hartford, Houston, Los Angeles, Sag Harbor, New York. And Betty's always reaching. She's got a big embrace, as you know. She's ever ambitious. And you know, I know we're here on the East Coast and we love where we are, but it's really the West. Many people believe that have been the distinctive mark on our American character, and that as generations of people that grew up in the West, they started dropping their old European ideals and practices, and they became much more rugged individuals, full of strength and individuality, like Betty has. You know, and one method of interpreting things is not sufficient. You really need an interdisciplinary approach, which is what Betty has. Movement, music, acting. I'll never forget the first time I saw her at the Carlisle Hotel. And just with one gesture, she became a cat. You know, in an elegant evening gown. I tell you, there's, you know, the West also creates mythology, and you know, Betty has a mythology too. You know, when I was first up in Hartford, I was artistic director there, and I wanted to bring Betty up to do Camino Real, and I heard this myth about Betty that she won't go anywhere to work without her horse, Purple Badger. And now is that true or false? You think, well, it actually turned out to be kind of true, actually. And so there we were trying to find a place that we could put up Purple Badger, but we weren't able to do that. But Betty came up and she joined the late James Colby and Novella Nelson and Rip Torn and did this fabulous production, Tennessee Williams' Wild Play. Again, showing her savage wildness that comes from the West, that overtakes that kind of civic sentiment. She's got great grace and manners, but she's got a wonderful wildness in her, which is why we love her. One of the reasons why we love her so much. She's taught me a lot about what it means to be an artist, which is always being nothing less than what your best potential is. Every time I work with Betty, I feel like I'm working on the most important thing that's happening in American theater right now. She also taught me a lot about being a collaborator. That's rooting for the room. That's making sure that everybody shines, not just your work. And about being a friend. She's a great friend. I love her so much, and I'm so proud of her tonight. I'm so happy to be here with her and you all. Betty Buckley is a new type of artist for us that has helped pave a new way for us in the American theater. And I'm really thrilled to do more work with her. I started counting them up, and I realized we've done 8 projects together, and I just want to say, Betty Lynn, for me, 8 is not enough.
Michael Wilson. She's the pioneer of the one-woman show, megastar of award-winning television series like Roseanne, Broad City, and Will and Grace. Winner for the Best Actress in the film The King of Comedy by the National Society of Film Critics, and current host of Sandyland on Sirius XM Radio. She is Sandra Bernhardt.
I'm just going to tell a quick little story about Betty. I first met Betty it was either 75 or 76 in Laurel Canyon in Los Angeles when I first moved there. And I was taking a cold reading class with a bunch of, sort of working actors. And I don't remember if Betty was in the actual class or not, but we all had Thanksgiving together. It was probably like my first or second Thanksgiving in LA. And it was at Bruce Davison's house, who was good friends with Betty. I thought it was Betty's house all these years. She said, no, it was Bruce Davison's house. So I had a bit of a crush on Betty, because she was hot, she was sexy. I was kind of like, I was like 19 or 20 at the time, and so I was kind of coming on to her, and I think we ended up in the hot tub together, and nothing happened, sadly. But all these years later, we're still friends, and she's still as sexy and fabulous and real as ever. It is hot in here, isn't it? Well, let's drag the night out a little bit longer. I'm getting to work with this fabulous musical director, Ian. I couldn't decide what song to sing, but this is a show that I saw when I was 8 years old in Detroit, Hello Dolly, with Carol Channing, and she was my original inspiration for going into this business. So I know Betty did it. I said, let me do this song, because we didn't have time to think of anything else. I'll make it short and sweet. Let's just get to it. I can't compete with all these voices tonight, but I'll do the best I can. Before the parade passes by, before
did it for me, Mama. I thought you did it for me, Mama. I thought you made a no-talent ox into a star because you like doing things the hard way, Mama. You haven't got any talent. Not what I call talent. Oh, talent for the deaf, dumb, and blind, maybe. Not an ounce of it. Miss Gypsy Rose Lee. I made you! You want to know why I did it? You want to know why? Because I was born too soon and I started too late. That's why. When I got inside of me, I could have been better than anybody. When I got inside of me, what I could hold it down inside of me. Ooh, if I ever let it out, there wouldn't be science big enough. There wouldn't be life bright enough. Here she is, boys! Here she is, world! Here's Rose! Ready or not, here comes Mom. Mama's talking loud, Mama's doing fine, Mama's getting hot, Mama's moving on, Mama's going strong, Mama's got the stuff, Mama's moving on, Mama's going strong, Mama's going strong. Mama's got the stuff, Mama's moving on, Mama's gotta go. Mama's gotta let go. Why did I do it? What did it get me? Scrapbooks full of me in the background. Give them love, and what does it get you? What does it get you? One quick look as each of them leaves you. All your life, and where does it get you? Thanks a lot, out with the garbage. They take out and you're back at zero. I had a dream. I dreamed it for you, June. It wasn't for me, Herbie. And if it wasn't for me,
in the classic Tim Burton film, The Nightmare Before Christmas. He is the wonderful Ken Page.
Well, I was standing in the wings, and Betty reminded me of a story. I'll tell it quickly because it's getting late. The night after Cats won the Tony Award, need a little more volume, Mr. Sound Person. When Cats won the Tony Award, and the next night we're at the theater, you know, everybody's very excited. The audience is thinking, well, not only are we at Cats, but we're at the show that just won the Tony Award. And we're going to see Betty Buckley, who just won the Tony Award. So we get to the end of the show, and we're on the tire. The tire goes up. The smoke is going. Betty and I are looking to the Heaviside layer. And this cue was supposed to happen where the call was the doors open, flap, flap, and this cherry picker, all dressed up to look fabulous, would come through, land at the foot of the tire. Betty would step on it and ride off to the Heaviside layer. Well, this night, the stagehand in charge, we found out later, and he called the cues in reverse. So he said, cherry picker, go! The cherry picker comes crashing through the roof of the ceiling, and the things are swinging, nails are falling, splintered wood, and the audience is going, wow, they really went all It's so real, you know. And Billy and I are standing there, and I said, are you going to go up there? And she said, I don't think that was you. I have to go upstairs. So what happened was the cherry picker could not go back up all the way because it couldn't get back through. And Betty sat right there next to me during the addressing of Cats, and it was the most wonderful, special moment because it's the only time we got to do it. But it was one of our moments that we bonded among so many. The other was our little moment that we came up with one night. You know, as I said, she get on the cherry picker and ride off into the heavens. And one night, Betty was walking up the stair, cherry picker, and she turned back, being the excellent actress that she is. She turned back and she looked at me as if to say, I'm not going, or should I go? Really? And I thought, oh yeah, you should. But I thought, oh no, we must stay in the moment and be with her. So I reached out to her, and I touched her hand. She reached back to mine, and we touched hands like that, and the audience burst into applause. It was very Sistine Chapel. So that's hours and hours alone. But at any rate, this is from Betty Lynn. I love you now, I loved you then, and I will love you forever. Like the corners of my mind, misty watercolored memories of the way we were, scattered pictures of a smiles we left behind, smiles we gave to one another for the way we were. Mary, all alone in the moonlight, I can smile at the old days. Life was beautiful then. I remember the time I knew what happiness was. Let the memory live again. Day and night, I must wait for the sunrise. I must think of a new life, and I mustn't give in when the dawn comes. Tonight will be a memory too, and a new day will begin. Burned out ends of smoky days, the stale cold smell of morning. Someone mothers and street lamp smiles, and soon it will be morning. Touch me, it's so easy to leave. About days in the sun, if you touch me, you'll understand what happiness is. Look, a new day has
Brodetsky.
Hey everyone, by the way, I guess Behavior fans, didn't that kind of remind you of So Sweet When You Stir? Anybody's okay. Okay, this is my final deconstruction of the night. Thank you everyone for coming. Thanks for supporting this organization. Having arts in school is so crazy that it's a luxury. Remember when we were kids, and everyone was in orchestra and band and chorus and chorale, and now I literally had a volunteer at my kids' middle school on the Upper West Side because there was no chorus teacher. So it's really, really great that you're supporting the American Song Association, because we really do need the arts across the country, because the arts are equally / more important than other school things. So, before I go, and thank you for the award. So I just wanted to do my final deconstruction. I should bring it in. Yeah. This is just, it's just crazy that I'm doing anything with Betty, because I can't take how obsessed I was. So this is the Mystery Reverend Drew. Just like her legacy is this song. It's the song The Writing on the Wall, and if you don't know, when Rupert Holmes first wrote it, it was supposed to end like this. The writing on the wall. Same stupid note, which is like that boring, I could have danced all night. Dance, oh, wait for it. No! Why did I wait for it? It's the same stupid. Go up to the high note, and they're like, oh, it's not a high note. Like, you're in a belting in B, remember, at the moment, the high note would be in E. Like, you know, people had touched upon ease back in the day, like you like hit it for a second, but no one ever sustained an E. So they're like, maybe you can't go up to the high note. She's like, oh, but I want to. They're like, yeah, no, it's not gonna work. Too high. So cut to Rupert Holmes told me they were doing the reading of the Mystery of Evan Drood, and when they got to that song, Betty just felt it, and she was just like, stop. And she literally went up to the E, and that's when basically everyone's false teeth shattered. It was crazy. It's a sustained E. It is so thrilling. So, first of all, the song is so joyous. It's just, if you don't know, Evan Drood is murdered, and then Evan Drood is not. Evan Drood says, no, someone tried to kill me, and I hid in my crypt to try to figure out who killed me. Being that close to death made me really appreciate life. And the writing on the wall is live life to the fullest. So that's the purpose of the song. And Betty would effing sing this 8 times a week. And she said that it was staged, where she'd be like, the writing on, and she'd look at the cast, and they'd all be like, no one can believe she could do it, but she did. She would sustain an E, by the way. Not that she's sustaining an E, but you know, when I remember talking to Michael Rupert, and said that he was barefoot in Pippin, and he said, you could feel the orchestra supporting you. And the orchestra cuts out. Because the writing on the orchestra cuts out. She hits it a cappella. Do you know that takes ovaries, as we see in the video. Let's all just enjoy this brilliance. I mean, to me, it's the best recorded Broadway song that's ever. I mean, there's nothing like this, and there's so much joy, and it's brilliant. And just spot the vibrato, and spot the crazy high E a cappella. I love it so much. It's my final deconstruction. Again, thank you for being here. And right after this, guess you're going to read something amazing. Okay, are you ready? Hit it.
Is it clear if you hear my voice in the night? What a lucky marvel is mine. When you think of every sweet face in all my eyes, I have read the writing on the wall, trying to live forever and give on heaven the fight you'll need to wear more. Can't you hear the
Three-time Academy Award, 4-time Grammy Award, and Special Tony Award winner Stephen Schwartz.
Well, we've heard from friends, we've heard from fans, we've heard from colleagues and admirers of Betty Buckley, and so at this point, all I will add is to say, for a distinguished and inspired career in the theater, television, and film, and for setting a shining example of professionalism and expertise to generations of artists to come, the American Songbook proudly presents its 2023 Lifetime Achievement Award to Betty Lynn Buckley.
Gosh, it's so hot out here. I'm so grateful you stayed. Thank you. And so for the past few months, they let me know that this was going to happen, and it caused me a lot of inner contemplation and meditation, that I was getting a lifetime achievement award. What does that mean? I still have things I want to do, and Scott Schwartz said that it was about perseverance, and truly it is. It's about perseverance and really kind people who recognized my passion for music and storytelling, and who opened doors for me at critical moments. Like Charlie Blackwell, when I raced over to the stage door of the Schubert where they were doing Promises, because I'd blown my audition, and I wept and told him that I was a good actress, but I needed, I'd like to have direction. So he worked with me, and then he got me this callback. And that was just that kind of kindness. And then my friend Roger Hess is here tonight. He was my very first agent. He went on to become a very successful Broadway producer. We're still very close friends. And he recognized my talent when I sang as a guest artist at the Miss America pageant when I was a junior in college. And had me fly to New York and audition for these 12 agents, and they signed me. And then I said, I had to go back to Texas and finish college. I had a father who was very opposed to my being a singing actress or singer, and a stage mother who loved performing and had been a singer-dancer as a kid. And so she encouraged me and snuck me out of the house for my dance classes. My aunt started teaching me dance when I was 3, and I overheard her once to my mother say, "Don't tell her how good she is, because it'll go to her head." And then my mother entered me in every possible talent show, and I couldn't understand how a bad ballerina from Nacogdoches compared to a little boy violinist, and then to a belty girl, and I couldn't understand how we were in competition. So those moments were confusing. Anyway, my father was not going to let me move to New York City, and if it hadn't been for Roger Hess, I would have never had the courage to do that. And so, Roger, where are you? Just wave at me. So. Back here. Yes. I'm really, really grateful for people who were kind to me and opened doors for me. And I'm also really grateful to my teachers. I've had the best teachers you can imagine. I sussed out who they were and went to them and did what I needed to do. I studied with Paul Gabbard, as Kurt mentioned, for 19 and a half years. And he taught me everything I know about singing. Yeah, it's been like a long time, and that's another thing I think that's a testimony of my career, is that if you just hang in there, if you just persevere, if you just keep going, and as I say to my students, you have to love the craft more than the business of show, but if the craft is what makes you happy and excited, then go for it and work really hard to get better and better at it. So I want to thank the American Songbook Association and the Carol Epic family. This has been such an honor, and I want to thank all of my friends who were here tonight to sing songs I requested of them. Bonnie Milligan was sick last week, and she was not sure she could do the song, and I said, she'll do it. And so, and sure enough, she learned it, and I was just so delighted. All my friends who sang tonight and spoke tonight, I'm almost out of breath with it. I'll try to sing a song for you, but. It's been an incredible night, and I know we're tired, so thank you for flying in. Thank you for coming from Texas, from the West Coast. Thank you to all my pals who are here and my friends, and I'm extremely honored and grateful. Thank you very much. great musical called Baker's Wife. It was the first time a composer called me and said, I've written this show with you in mind. And he says he doesn't remember that, but anyway. He said that. And he said, but the director doesn't know your work, so you're going to have to audition for him. So I did like 6 times. I elaborate on the story and say sometimes say 9 times, but they made me audition 6 times, and I did not get the part. And I was just like horrified. I was in shock. And I spent months and months and months over the next year or 2 actually complaining about this to my therapist. And that's where I learned that great accent that I told Vianne Cox, which was 1, stop it, 2, get over it. So I tried, but it's still very annoying to me. Anyway, so. Begged him to write a show for me, and he says, oh, whatever, and then I just found out he's writing one for Christian Chenoweth. So I was further annoyed, but very grateful that he was here tonight. And just can't get what you want, folks. You get what you need. This is from The Baker's Wife. It's called Chanson.
Every day as you do what you do every day, you see the same faces that fill the cafe. And if some of those faces have new things to say, nothing is really different. And the wind changes course, and the moon changes face, and the world spins around with the greens and the grays. And you never take time out to think of the ways everything might be different. And then one day, suddenly, something can happen. It may be quite simple, it may be quite small, but all of a sudden, your stew tastes different, and you hear the gulls cry in a different key, and you see with new eyes, and the faces you see are people you don't know at all. And there's someone who touches your hair every day, touches you now in a different way. And you may want to run, and you may want to stay forever. And since life is the cry of the gull and the taste of your stew and the way that you fool them, Chaque jour est un jour comme les autres du jour. Le potage, le voyage, peut-être là. Le soleil, il voyage. Le monde fait un tour. Aussi, c'est toujours le même. Come to sing a song about hope. I'm not inspired much right now, but even so, I came out here to sing a song, so here I go. I guess I think that if I tinker long enough, one might appear. And look, it's here. One verse is done. The work's begun. I come to sing a song about hope. In spite of everything ridiculous and sad, though I'm beyond belief, depressed, confused, and mad, well, I get dressed. I underestimated how much that would take. I didn't break until right now. I sing of hope and don't know how. So maybe I can substitute strength because I'm strong enough. I got through lots of things I didn't think I could, and so did you. I know that's true. And so I sing a song about hope. Though I can't guarantee there's something real behind it. We have to try to said hope, the work begins. I said hope, the work begins.